welcome back. Previously, we have discussed about the methods and ideas of Robert Owen as well as William King. Let us discuss about the ideas of the Rochdale pioneers. Rochdale pioneers. Rochdale pioneers was actually a group of optimistic thinkers. They came forward to introduce a system that paved way for the modern day cooperative movement. The first such movement was Rochdale Friendly Cooperative Society that was formed by 60 flannel weavers. In the history of Great Britain, the 1840 has been named as Hungry 40 because the condition in Rochdale was worse, so that 28% among the 60 members of the Rochdale Friendly Society established a cooperative society with unlimited liability in 1844 with a working capital of £28 by the name Rochdale Equity Pioneers Society. Charles Howard was the leader of the society. By investing £14, they purchased small quantities of wheat flour, oatmeal, butter, sugar, etc., and started a cooperative store in 1844 by the name the Todd Lane Store. It was called Todd Lane Store because it was situated in Todd Lane Street. It was a vision of a better social order that inspired them to organize themselves into an association. There was a lack of fund, but their spirit and enthusiasm compensated for it. The members themselves worked as the part-time salesman by turn. The aim was to show the people a way to new and better social order. So let us discuss about the objects of the society. The main objective of the society was to make arrangements for the monetary benefit and improvement of the social and domestic condition of its members. The other objectives of the society were to open a store to supply provisions, clothing, etc. to the members, to build or purchase houses for the members, to produce such articles which may provide employment to the members, to purchase or to take on lease land for cultivation to the members, to establish self-supporting home colony of members for their common interest. To make arrangements for education of members and their children, and finally to open temperance hotel for the promotion of the habit of thrift among the members. So if you go through the objectives, you can see that these were the major objectives that covered the issues that was pertaining to the measures and methods implemented by the predecessors of the Rochdale pioneers. So the pioneers themselves had made rules for the administration of the society and the conduct of the business in a democratic way. There was an executive committee which consisted of a president, a secretary, a treasurer, 3 trustees and 5 directors, elected annually by general meeting of the members. The executive committee must meet every week. The duties and responsibility of each officer and the rights and obligation of the members were clearly specified. So there was actually a plan of action for the entire activities within this system. That was the major reason for the success of this system. Even though there was previous movements made by Robert Owen and Dr. William King, the concept of Rochdale pioneers was the best because they were the first team that was successful in the field of cooperation. Until then, even though measures and ideas were introduced by other philanthropists and enthusiasts, all the ideas and methods was a failure. Just like the Robert Owen, his ideas, even though his ideas was innovative, it was a failure. Dr. William King also suffered many failures. But Rochdale pioneers was successful in their ideas and in the implementation. Because of a firm structure and system, they were able to implement their ideas effectively. So let us discuss the principles laid down by the Rochdale. It is otherwise known as Rochdale principles. The original pioneer did not draw up a statement of principles, but by 1860, the Rochdale Society had made a statement of its rules of conduct of the business in its annual meeting. These rules were adopted by its members in the business. They came to be known as Rochdale principles. These principles were most conducive to the overgrowing success of the movement. So let us discuss in detail what were the principles of Rochdale Society. First one, open membership. They hold that membership was open to all irrespective of their caste, color, creed, income, gender, etc. Those who are willing to pay the prescribed amount of membership can join the society at any time. And the concept of open membership is even accepted in the today's cooperative system. Cash sales. This policy was necessary to avoid bad debts and locking of capital, because the major issue faced by the previous philanthropists or previous methods was they were providing goods at a reasonable price and also at credit. Since the people under the scheme was poor and working class, providing goods on credit was a bad idea for the cooperative movement. That's why the previous methods was a failure. Earlier their products were provided on credit. In the Rochdale principle concept, the goods are sold on cash basis only. So such a policy would deprive some willing persons and a chance of joining the stores, but pioneers preferred limited members of selected character who may observe this policy, which may ultimately lead to profit. That was the reason for the success of the Rochdale principles, and even the cash sales concept is still followed in the today's cooperative methods. One of the universally accepted concepts, one man, one vote. Since there exists a democratic system of governing activity in every cooperative system, there is a need for one man, one vote principle. There should not be any influence of those who have contributed more. Every member shall have only one vote, irrespective of the number of shares or the contribution held by him. Next one, price policy. Pioneers adopted the policy of selling commodities at the prevailing market rate. Several stores started prior to Rochdale pioneers failed because they sold goods at cheaper rate than the market rate. Therefore, market rate should be charged and no credit to be given or asked. That was the concept of Rochdale principles. Actually, the principles of Rochdale is based on the failures suffered by the previous movements. Fixed return on capital. As we all know, whatever the system of activity, every method needs capital for working and implementation. So, capital should be of their own and it should be provided a fixed rate of interest. A fixed rate of interest was allowed on capital before declaring dividend in order to induce the members to deposit their savings with the store. Earlier there was no such concept regarding a fixed return on capital. That's why the methods or the movement followed prior to Rochdale principles was a failure. Sale of pure and unadulterated articles. Only pure and unadulterated articles were supplied to the members. In order to eliminate middlemen, they produced goods directly from producers. Even though eliminating middlemen was a method adopted by Robert King, they were failed miserably because they were suffering from adulterated articles. Here in Rochdale concept, they made emphasis on providing pure and unadulterated articles to its members. Dividend on purchases. Profit realized by selling articles at market rate are divided among the members in proportion to the purchases made by them. It is considered as the most attractive feature of the Rochdale store. So, more the purchases are carried out means more profit for the running of the Rochdale society. So, whoever making more purchases will get more dividend. So, dividends induce these members to purchase more. Education of members. As I have mentioned earlier, education was the best option that can be implemented within a community so as to develop an efficient system, because man of knowledge will have wise ideas. So members are provided with education not only on the principles of cooperatives but also on technical and general education. For this, a definite portion of the surplus was set apart before declaring dividend. Early education was based on cooperative subject, but in Rochdale principles, education was mainly on technical and general education. By providing education on technical aspects, the members will be technically equipped for self-generated activities, so that members can be able to introduce their own ideas or techniques within the moment, so that it will ultimately leads to profit within the organization. Religious and political neutrality. As in the case of Robert and King, there was wide differences in the name of religion. But in Rochdale principles, the society shall not in any way be linked with any religious or political parties. The managers should be in the hands of officers and committee elected periodically. Use of current weight and measures. Correct weight and measures should be adopted to provide customers the required quantity of goods demanded. Improper weight and improper measurement of goods was the main reason for failure in case of Robert Owen and Dr. William King. So, the Rochdale Society had a record of grand success in the beginning of the progress. Was even though in the beginning was very slow, they ultimately succeeded in this movement. We will discuss about the reason for their success and how their progress was made in their movement in the next slide.